They say the soul weighs 21 grams. That's a fraction of an ounce, the weight of a hummingbird in motion, or a few pennies resting in your hands. But for years, I've been carrying something heavier. I've been carrying the ghost of a person I no longer am. This weekend, I celebrated my 41st birthday, and standing at this threshold, I realized I've been living in a house built for an older version of me. A version that stayed quiet, a version that waited for permission, sometimes just to be myself. A version that chose comfort over calling. And here's the truth I need to say out loud: that person didn't fail. That person survived. That person carried me through what they could. That person got me here, got me to this age, got me to this moment. That person got me to this microphone. But today, their work is done. With gratitude, not resentment, I release them because I am here now. And I can finally say this: I am not that person anymore. There's a strange moment in life when growth doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like distance. Distance from who you were, distance from the rules you used to live by, distance from the people who knew only an older version of yourself. And that distance can feel uncomfortable, lonely even, because change doesn't always arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives quietly. It's like one day you realize your shoes don't fit anymore, not because they're broken, but because you've grown. The old me believed that stability meant stillness. He thought being grounded meant not moving, not changing, not disrupting anything. He mistook silence for peace and endurance for strength. So he stayed. He stayed in conversations that drained him, stayed in roles that no longer fit. He stayed quiet when his voice was cracking to be heard, not because it felt right, but because it felt safe. And safety, when you're afraid, it can look a lot like love, peace, acceptance. The old me worked hard to stay easy. Easy to rely on, easy to overlook, easy to keep around. The old me learned early that being agreeable kept the tensions low, that being understanding made people stay. So he explained himself way too much. He apologized for needs, he softened truths until they barely resembled honesty anymore. But that man, he's gone. The man I am now understands something very clearly. When you keep shrinking the room, or you keep shrinking yourself to fit the room, you forget how much space you actually need. The old me was afraid of disappointing people, afraid of choosing himself, afraid that choosing himself would cost him connections, afraid that saying no would make him unlovable. So he said yes, even when his body said no. He showed up depleted. He poured from an empty cup. And you know what he called that? Loyalty. But here's what 41 has taught me: disappointment is sometimes just the sound of a boundary being placed when no one was never when one was never allowed there before. Disappointment is sometimes just the sound of a boundary being placed when one was never there before. And uncertainty, that terrified the old me. He clung to what made sense on paper, what looked stable from the outside, what he could explain to others without sounding reckless. He believed that certainty was safety, that predictability meant control. But certainty, that can be a cage. And freedom, that rarely comes with instructions. But the life I'm building now, it doesn't always look neat. It doesn't always make sense to everyone. Some can even call it chaotic. But to me, it feels true, and truth has weight. I want you to hold on to this. At some point, you realize you're not afraid of failing anymore. What you're afraid of is staying in a version of yourself that no longer reflects who you're becoming. It's like wearing a coat you needed in the winter, but that same coat suffocates you in the spring. There's nothing wrong with the coat, you just don't need it anymore. And that realization about becoming and letting go of my old self led me to write a letter to the version of me who was trying so hard to get it right. The version of me that thought that change meant collapse. The one that believed that walking away meant starting over from zero. That old me deserves to know the truth that he wasn't weak, he was early. So I want to read a piece of this letter that I wrote myself, but not as a goodbye, but as a thank you. Joe, I'm looking at you from a decade away. There's so much I want to tell you, but mostly I want to tell you that it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail at being who you think you're supposed to be. Right now, you're working hard to be stable. You're holding your breath. You're trying to keep the water still, trying to make sure everyone around you is comfortable, even if it means you're shivering. You think that if you change, you're failing. You think that if you walk away from the things that no longer fit, you're being flaky or lost. But I have a secret for you. The things you're afraid of losing right now, you're going to let them go. And when you do, your hands are finally going to be empty enough to catch the things that actually belong to you. I'm not that person anymore. I don't carry your specific fears anymore. I've traded your certainty for a very messy kind of freedom. And I know that would scare you. You look at me now and think that I've changed too much. You think I've become someone you don't recognize. And you'll be right. I have. And it's the greatest gift I could have ever given us. Thank you for getting me this far, but you can rest now. I got it from here. There's something powerful about saying that I'm not that person anymore. Not with bitterness or shame, but with clarity. Because growth doesn't erase who you were, it builds on them. The old you walked so the new you could stand. They endured what you no longer need to tolerate. Don't let that get over your head. I'll repeat it. The old you walked so the new you could stand. They endured what you no longer need to tolerate. And instead of disowning them, honor them. How? By living differently. Remember this and hold this thought. Some people will struggle with your change. They'll say you're distant, different, not the same. And the good thing is that they're going to be right. But different doesn't mean worse, it means honest. It means you stop negotiating with your own limits. Hold on to that thought. If you're listening to this and something inside you feels unsettled, good. That's not fear. That's recognition. That's the sound of an old version of you realizing that the work might be done. You don't need permission to evolve, and you don't need to explain your healing. You just need the courage to admit when you're done pretending that you are no longer that person. As far as me, I don't know who you're becoming, but I know this. If you're shedding skin, you're alive. If you're uncomfortable, you're honest. If you're no longer who you were, that's not a loss. That's movement. Thank you. Thank you for sitting with me in this moment, for honoring your own becoming, and thank you for carrying what matters and letting go of what doesn't. This is 21 grams. I'm going to be right here for the next conversation.